Folks, everybody was on the ark. In a sense that everybody, if everything's wiped out, everybody goes back to when Noah and his family get off the ark. Everybody has the truth in their history. Everybody. So when things go out, yeah, stories get twisted, and, things, memories change. If you've got brothers and sisters, something happened 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 18 years ago, 15 years ago, you've got different versions of the same story that happened, okay? But it's all sort of close. There are similarities, but yet they're not exact, because our memories are different. But see, that's what's awesome about the Bible. The Lord says, thy word is truth. Whatever it is the truth of the thing. The issue is the flood account. And there's plenty of evidence for it. And there's evidence that confirms what it is and when and how and all that kind of stuff. It's just it's a huge topic, but nevertheless, there's plenty of evidence for it. Other accounts of a big worldwide flood and all that are just, they're versions of people who had the truth once upon a time. I hope that sort of makes sense to you.
The second question, it's clear. You said that every creation needs a creator. And I guess the ultimate question would be, would God be creator?
Well, God's outside.
Supposing something existence, isn't that kind of what you're saying scientists are doing with the Big Bang?
Sure, I'll agree. Both except, that's three. Both except by faith how things started. I believe there was a God. God, in the beginning time, God who created what he did, heaven, space, and earth, matter. In the beginning, God started time, space, and matter. He's outside of it. He is not locked into the time, space, and matter that we are locked into. Well, again, it goes back to, it would take huge Bible studies to do that. I mean, just because what the Bible says. See, here's a way to look at that. Here's a way to know that, okay, in my mind. You can take a biology textbook today. You can go to a science classroom today. In this building, not this building, but I mean on this campus. You can go to a science classroom and you will find bookshelves. They have all the different, however long the thing's been around, you'll find books from all the previous books they used to use. They have bookshelves with, 1990s books and 80s books and 70s books, 60s, 50s books, or whatever. And you look at those books compared to a 2007, 2008, 2009 book, they say different things. They say different things. They don't say the same thing. They have changed their minds on a lot of things. A lot of the answers in the 70s and 80s that you had to answer the test right to get a passing grade to move on up, those same answers by the same people are not right anymore. They've changed their mind about it. So the point is, the right answers in the 70s and 80s are the wrong answers today in the same camp. But the point is, a textbook is continually having to be rewritten. And as far as I look at it, I don't think they get one right off the presses at the time they get off the presses. I'm not saying education's wrong, don't misunderstand. I mean, science is awesome stuff. I love science. But evolution has nothing to do with that. But the point is, if they can't get a book right, even when it comes off the press today, and even the ones off the press today, by the time we hit around 2020, a lot of the stuff being taught today, they're not going to agree with anymore. But the Bible was written thousands of years ago, and it still says the same thing. And everything still does to this day reproduce after its kind. See, the evidence written thousands of years ago confirms still to be the truth. Whereas a book can't be written today that's still right all the way through. So the point is, when it's just one issue, but when you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that all come together and the pieces all keep coming together and fitting, then the next thing you know, you got to make a decision. This thing has some truth to it. So then you need to study it more and find out and such. So, the long and short of the answer is a person believes there is a God who did what he said he is. But a person also believes there was a Big Bang and everything starts forming from there. Both start by faith. Granted. But where does the evidence confirm and lie after that point? I would dare say.
Pretty flimsy evidence to support that.
I would dare say that a person can believe by faith. There's no observational evidence that birds, horses, and humans come from the same common ancestor. But I think there's pretty solid evidence that birds, horses, and humans give birth to birds, horses, and humans. I believe that what God says is, in fact, where the evidence lies. But anyway, let me grab one of you two and then the next one next. So they've had their hand up the longest, I think. So I know other people have, but I've been... Go ahead.
Okay. Carbon dating. What is your aspect on that?
Carbon dating is interesting. I was going to maybe do some of that, talk about... Let me just give you an overview real quick. Good thing my wife isn't here. She hates the carbon dating issue. Anyway, carbon dating. Willard Libby invented the carbon dating method in 1956, University of Chicago. Willard Libby himself, in his own literature, you probably have a library that will have his books in it, that have his research data. Willard Libby himself, the inventor of the method, said it's only good for 2,000 years max. If, all throughout. If, then. The bottom line is, he came to the conclusion that the half-life is 5,730 years. Well, nobody obviously watched it for that long, so there's obviously some assumption built in here. 1950s we're talking 50 years ago, 60 years max. I mean, we've only been watching this stuff for a short time. One of his big things is if, it's only true if cosmic radiation has remained constant. Well, they know it hasn't. The magnetic field has a half-life. The magnetic field, the strength of the magnetic field is decaying. The magnetic field is what prevents the cosmic radiation from coming in, striking the atmosphere, converting some of the nitrogen-14 to carbon-14. If the magnetic field is getting weaker, then we're getting more in today than just a few hundred years ago, much less a few thousand years ago, much less if there was a huge big disturbance prior to that. The point is, the uniformitarianism assumptions are built into the thing. It's only true if the steady rate of the observable now has always been. We don't know that. A person can believe it's been steady. Only true if there's been no contamination. A person can only believe there's no contamination. Only true if you can calibrate it and find out where the starting point was and all this. And it doesn't matter whether it's rubidium, strontium, carbon-14, uranium, lead, potassium, argon. It doesn't matter which dating method it is. They all basically work the same concepts all the way through. Rubidium, strontium has a half-life of 48.8 billion years. Well, nobody watched it for that long. So obviously, there's some assumptions built in. The whole system is all based on assumption, is the bottom line. And people are free to believe, but I know many examples, many, I talk to people all the time. Mm-hmm.
The belief thing, where is God created everything? How can that be tested?
How can it be what?
How can that be tested?
The testing cannot be done that God did it. And if I have like a homeschool meeting or a Christian school meeting, I will always ask the kids, because I don't want them to grow up thinking the wrong thing. I will always ask the kids. I mean, oftentimes we're talking first graders all the way, well, through 12th graders. I will always ask them, where is good science in the first chapter of the Bible? And of course, you can understand the little kids, they're saying, God made everything. I say, no, that's not good science. That's not science. We believe God made everything. And people will say, well, God made the people. Well, no, we believe God made the people. That is by faith. I'll make sure that they understand. They say something about, God made trees. Well, no, we believe God made trees.
Science can be tested.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. Both believe by faith how things started.
Science is tested.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at.
Religion is belief.
That's exactly right. And that's what I'm getting at. I believe God made everything to start this thing. An evolutionist believes there was a big bang and things changed into different things and all that kind of stuff. The Bible says that, again, 10 times in just the first chapter, that everything reproduces after his kind. Now, I absolutely believe we've got scientific, testing, observable evidence on our side. You can actually watch a turtle give birth to a turtle. Well, eggs, but you can watch a cow give birth to a cow. I'm sorry? But the problem is you cannot observe, you said it yourself, science is observing and testing. You cannot observe or test that the common ancestor. What is an ancestor? An ancestor is someone that was before us, that we are in the same family with. My ancestors, grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-great-great, all the way down the line. All of those were human beings. All of those were people. But the textbook says the bird, the horse, and the human have the same common ancestor. Now, a person, again, is free to believe by faith that, but just like you said, to be science, you must be able to observe and test. There is no observation for that. Now,
Viruses, you can observe viruses involved.
but here's the thing. Virus, that's the word you were saying. But all the textbooks, let me give you an example of that. All the textbooks will use virus and DDT-resistant mosquitoes and all this kind of stuff as evidence for evolution. Not necessarily. First of all, here's the thing. Here's the thing. There are people, you look in this room, there are people that look different in this room. But we are all people in this room. You know, there are